The Life of Orochi from One Punch Man. Monster King Orochi, also called Lord Orochi, is a dragon-level mysterious being and the leader of the Monster Association. Orochi is one of the main antagonists of the Human Monster Saga. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video we're going over the life of Orochi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Early life. Orochi used to be a man who turned his back on humanity. Although it is unknown to what extent, he was also some sort of martial arts fighting genius. Eventually, he crossed paths with Psychos, who swayed him to join her cause. Psychos turned him into a monster through a special growth-stimulating process by putting him through many near-death experiences. Orochi became Psychos' greatest success after many failures and sacrifices occurring. As he began to transform from a human into a monster, his appearance began to change drastically, although he was not quite at the towering height he would eventually obtain. Psychos also conditioned his mind to be totally submissive to her. Several years before the events of the story, Orochi battled and defeated Goketsu. Instead of killing the martial artist, Orochi took him to the Monster Association headquarters and gave him an offer to help the martial artist gain more power in exchange for cooperation. Super Fight Arc. Gyoro is first seen speaking with Orochi about the monster raid situation, though he stays relatively silent. After Tatsumaki kills the 100 Eyes Octopus, Gyoro finds the situation troublesome, but Orochi sees it as no concern because they can make as many mysterious beings as they please. Through his robot, Bofoi questions Orochi and Gyoro about their goals, and while they tell him destruction is a natural part of a monster's instincts, it is not their end goal. Orochi later kills and eats Awakened Cockroach for his failure to kill Genos, and was about to do the same to Do-S but spared her on behalf of Gyoro's request. He realizes Goketsu wasn't present at the meeting and has Gyoro try to find him, but to Gyoro's shock and worry, it discovers Goketsu's head was cleaved from his body by an unknown hero. Monster Association Arc. After Gero is captured and Gyoro introduces him to Orochi, the Monster King gives him 1 day to bring back the head of any hero in order to prove his loyalty and join the Monster Association. Later, when Gero returns to fight the Monster Association, Gero finds himself in Gyoro's throne room, and the two have a brief battle before Gyoro decides to let Orochi take care of him. Orochi reaches through the floor and tightly grasps Gero in his hand, and the two move to the massive Colosseum-like throne room to accommodate Orochi's massive size. The two begin to fight, and as the fight goes on, Orochi begins to unveil his true appearance, unraveling his body into endless horns, mouths, and dragons. And Gero begins to take heavy damage from the onslaught of claws and fire. As the fight rages on, many mysterious beings are killed in the crossfire. Despite Gero's ferocious efforts, he is no match for Orochi's inhuman powers and is eventually sent crashing into a wall by a heavy blow. But Gero derisively laughs and says that while Orochi is strong, he relies solely on his strength and has no real strategic or cognitive abilities, believing that he's a mindless monster and stating that he isn't at all afraid of him. Gero takes a fighting stance, but his eyes widen when he sees Orochi take the same stance. Gyoro reveals that Orochi is in fact a fighting genius as well, and he was able to learn the flowing water rock smashing fist just by observing Gero's movements. Orochi boasts to Gero that since he did not feel fear before, he will now grant him true terror. Alas, Gero is undeterred, and he passionately jumps up to strike Orochi. Despite this, Gero is easily knocked back and collides with the wall yet again, knocking him unconscious and marking Orochi as the victor. After the initial clash between the heroes and the monsters, Orochi and several other dragon-level monsters are called by Gyoro for a meeting. Gyoro calls for Orochi to save her after being utterly decimated by Tatsumaki, although Orochi is unable to hear her. This is because Orochi has already started climbing through the rubble of the Monster Association base to personally meet Saitama, increasing his size several times over and spewing streams of fire. Upon meeting him, Orochi realizes that Saitama is not trash that can be ignored and attacks him, only managing to singe the end of his cape. The nearby overgrown rover is awoken by the struggle after having been knocked unconscious by Saitama earlier. Orochi orders Rover to kill Saitama, but it flees with its tail between its legs when it catches a glimpse of Saitama's face. Orochi is shocked by Rover's disobedience and asks Saitama what he did to him. When Saitama replies that he went easy on him, Orochi realizes that he was the one to kill Goketsu and Elder Centipede, two of the Monster Association's major executives. Orochi gets excited at the thought of such a powerful opponent and condenses himself into a slimmer, more humanoid form to fight at full force. As he properly introduces himself, Saitama cuts him off, telling him his expectations are already low enough. Orochi then relentlessly attacks Saitama, his blows shaking the entire landmass of Z City. Several punches and enormous fiery blasts later, Saitama launches himself through Orochi's skull, having ripped the Monster King's body to shreds over the course of the battle. Orochi asks Saitama what happened, and Saitama replies that it was just a normal punch. His fractured head then falls into the abyss, now knowing true terror for himself. Orochi's body is then discovered by one of Gyoro-Gyoro's drones just before Gyoro-Gyoro is defeated by Tatsumaki. However, Orochi ultimately survives Saitama's punch. His body, splattered across the Monster Association base, slowly reforms, absorbing all monsters unfortunate enough to come near. He senses that Gyoro-Gyoro is gone and Psychos herself is fighting Tatsumaki. Orochi blasts at Tatsumaki from all directions with his scattered body parts, allowing Psychos to escape. He then shoots himself towards Psychos, engulfing her in his biomass and attempting to absorb her. Psychos is shocked at the power Orochi was hiding, while the Monster King mockingly thanks her for the countless monster sacrifices and prepares to consume her too. However, Psychos manages to overpower Orochi, and they combine into a monster-human hybrid form. With this new form, Psychos is in command, but Orochi maintains a level of control, openly stating through Psychos that he would find Saitama and consume him. Orochi and Tatsumaki clash, and combined with Psychos, they manage to increase the gravity around Tatsumaki while simultaneously channeling her energy into a barrier, increasing the internal pressure and dealing serious damage to Tatsumaki. While Orochi is fighting against Tatsumaki, a part of his mass elsewhere attacks Flashy Flash, Saitama, and Monoko. The Flesh grabs Monoko in an attempt to absorb her, but Flashy Flash saves her. Orochi then grabs Saitama's head, but his lack of hair causes the tentacles to slip off. Saitama punches the mass of flesh in retaliation, killing it. Orochi's main body yells in pain after feeling Saitama's punch, releasing Tatsumaki from his grip. Orochi notices the massive number of cells that just died, wondering what the slippery feeling he felt was. After Tatsumaki hears Tario is confirmed to be safe with King, she reveals she was holding back, and prepares to fight Orochi and Psychos at full power. After Tatsumaki inverts the Monster Association base above the ground, Psychos and Orochi emerge from the top with an explosion. The villainous fusion showcases its power with a devastating energy beam that cuts through the very Earth's surface. Psychos brags that she, and therefore Orochi, was somehow bestowed a power superior to Tatsumaki's, and is now a perfect life form. When called an idiot by Tatsumaki, as well as being called out for being forced to rely on Orochi for everything, Psychos flies into a rage, sending a barrage of dragons and energy blasts at her. Throughout most of the fight, Orochi is quiet and focused, letting Psychos do the talking, although there are still moments where he visibly threatens to take charge of the fusion, as shown by Psychos' face deteriorating to resemble his. Tatsumaki pulls a fast one on Psychos, tricking her into attacking a rock dummy, which allows Tatsumaki to enter Psychos' giant body through Orochi's tendrils. Tatsumaki destroys the projection, but Psychos survives and begins reforming her body as Orochi impales both of Tatsumaki's hands and strikes her with psychic power. Psychos prepares to finish Tatsumaki off, but she's saved by Genos, who launches an energy beam of his own to intercept. She then begins twisting the fusion itself, causing both Orochi and Psychos to roar in agony. Desperate, Psychos and Orochi transform into a jet-like organism and move to consume the blood from the humans in the city. Tatsumaki senses that their presence is divided into 7 due to Psychos using the same dummy technique she herself used before. So she creates a giant psychic barrier surrounding the area to halt their escape. Psychos attacks Tatsumaki with a laser, believing the hero is using all of her concentration to maintain the barrier so large, but she ends up hitting a dummy instead and accidentally revealing her own location. Drive Knight then joins the fray to pursue Psychos and Orochi, engaging in a dogfight with the monstrous fusion. Genos also joins in, working together with Drive Knight to slow their movements. This allows the rest of the S-Class heroes to organize and get some hits in, damaging Orochi so much that Psychos flees his body. Now alone, Orochi continues to be pummeled by the heroes, leaving him a bloody mess on the ground, and Tatsumaki uproots the Monster Association ruins and turns it into a gigantic stone spear. She then drills the spear into Orochi, tearing him to shreds and pushing him into an underground ruin illuminated by lava. Personality: Orochi is a stern and merciless creature whose immense power is enough to keep in check hundreds of other monsters in the Monster Association. He does not speak much, mostly because he does not need to, since his partner and creator Psychos, under the guise of Gyoro Gyoro, did all the talking for him. Although Orochi is the leader of the Monster Association, Psychos is the true person in charge, with Orochi acting more or less like an enforcer of her rule. After years of brainwashing him, Psychos has gained almost complete control over Orochi, to the point where he essentially never defies her commands. However, it is still possible for Orochi to ignore Psychos in very rare cases, as he prioritized the threat of Saitama over his creator's calls for help. However, it appears that Orochi has only been using Psychos to promote his own increase of growth through her training and monster sacrifices, and has actually been hiding his true power from her. As when Psychos attempts to merge with Orochi, he begins to take control, and attempts to absorb her in order to increase his own power. Despite this, Psychos manages to regain control over him to an extent, preventing herself from being completely absorbed by Orochi, although he does retain a degree of control over this new form, openly stating he would get revenge on Saitama and speaking through Psychos. Orochi is also much more intelligent than he appears. He is also one of the few characters in the series who acknowledged Saitama's immense strength and did not disregard him based on his appearance before fighting him. He became excited upon seeing the unbelievable power Saitama possessed, a person who's reached the pinnacle of strength possible for humans, and looked forward to seeing how the human's strength would fare against his own as the ultimate monster, giving him a rush and helping him override Psychos' brainwashing. After being reduced to gore, Orochi had a very one-track mind as he tried to pull himself back together, haphazardly absorbing any monsters who got in his way. He then attacked Psychos, his own creator, in an attempt to absorb her powers for himself. According to Psychos, during his past life as a human, Orochi was a broken man who was already losing his humanity by the time she met him. This made him a suitable candidate to be the future Monster King. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.